Merry Meet Annie here, and it is week 15 of the YouTube Pagan Challenge. And the question for this week, do you perform spells on a regular basis? The interesting discussion for me would be for those who are watching this, what do you think a spell is? It's one of those vocabulary words in witchery that we may all have different definitions for. Following up to the video I did for week 14 on what magic is to us, spell work, I tend to call it working. Oh, maybe with a capital W to remind myself of the import that carries. But spell working to me is the acts that we do in support of our magical alignments. The things that we do that turn the energy that I talked about in my last video, our unique energy in relationship to the universe and to the forces of creation and destruction. Spell working, what I call working, is the task of getting that done. Magic and the focus of coming to the point of doing a working is deep work and introspective work. Truly giving thought to how what we desire affects us and could potentially affect others. And then in my case, giving over to my gods that, gosh darn, if I screwed this up and I'm being full of ego and self-centeredness and not considering or don't know the wider impact of my working, please know it for me. Except for a couple of instances in my life where in a flurry of emotion I did something without that alignment to my gods and my guides. My magics have generally worked well. Oh, not at a level that I understand. If I did a spell working for instance, if I wanted to eliminate Lady Lupus in my life, or a dear one is sick, or God forbid because it's happened, dying, I don't always know why I don't get the result that I desire. At moments like that, I think perhaps that there's a greater learning or message in the world that I could not understand that's part of another's experience, and maybe even indirectly. I came to that consideration when my friend Jean was dying from her cancer. I wanted to do spell work to heal her. I wanted to keep her here with me, that's for sure. And only later, not even too much later, she fell into a coma and she died about 2 months later. And I saw the amazing compassion and power and learning that a very young physician who cared for her through this grew into through his relationship with her. So of course I would want my friend to live to survive her illness. But what if her presence in this world was because there is a young man, fresh out of medical school at that time, who dealt for the first time with a patient he became close to and guided her to death's threshold. What if her living was because of that moment? And all of the people that he related to after that. And I'm quite sure this young man did not become a jaded physician who survived in that challenging world by becoming emotionally cold. She was his first lesson in the deep grief he felt at the loss of a patient. There's so many mysteries behind why we do our workings, and they don't go as we hoped they would. For me, I do spell work, and I do it regularly. I will do it for focus for myself. I will do it for love and concern for others. I do it only if they know I am doing it and they are supportive of it, and their energy needs to align with it in the way I work magic for something to come of it. Spell work, to me, is the get-her-done relationship to the energy of magic. It's the things you do when you believe deeply that you can manifest change in the world. Your will equaling what you manifest in the universe. Now, it can be in small things. At this point, I have been doing workings for my husband for healing because he's having some struggles. I have been doing workings for myself also. Especially when I'm working for myself, there is a logical progression from the working that I do to what I need to do, what I need to take from that working. That is my continued involvement with the working. That's been something interesting in my years of working with teachers, because a good number of my teachers go by the old standard that when you have done your spell working, when you send it out into the universe, you step away from it. It will become what it will become. When I do workings, especially when it's for some great thing, something I cannot personally control, I do stand by that old ceremonial magic working of do your best in the working that you do, and then step back and release it and let it manifest in the universe in the way that it needs to. When I would do workings for the things that I know I can support, can work on behalf of, I don't release my workings to the universe. I stay connected to them. I'm doing workings right now on behalf of my own health. Those workings which align me, if you watched my previous video on magic, to my guides and my gods, as a spiritual act, help me to focus on, stay in focus, and in continuous relationship to the working, do the work in the mundane world to address my health issues. I stay very connected to those kinds of workings. Spell work that stays intimately a part of every day. And then there are the spell works that I release to the universe as soon as I've done them. So I'm kind of a combination of the old ceremonial axiom to do your magic and release it, and literally don't speak of it, do nothing in alignment to it. You've made the offering of it to the universe, and then you disconnect from it. And the Earth Witch, elementally connected witch, that's elements in the here and now and their energies, who knows that we manifest great things when we stay connected and supportive to our workings. We live in accord to the workings we have set out for ourselves. So yeah, I do workings all of the time. What I consider to be the greater workings, the ones that I offer to mystery. And then the universe decides what happens when the speaking, and I do speak all of my workings, leaves me. And I call them lesser workings, and I don't mean lesser that they are less important, but my lesser workings are the one I would say that continually staying connected to the working is how it becomes manifest literally in the world around me. So there is the mysterious release of the greater magics that I do. And then there is the get her done and do the work of it workings that I do. That combines teachings of ceremonial magicians that have worked with me over the years and elemental witches who work in the here and now with the collective energy that surrounds us and would never send you away if they were doing a working for you without advising that it is best you live in accord with this and do your part going forward. Always then my workings are spiritual in nature. Any spell work I do aligns me to magic, and magic to me is a deeply energetic and spiritual connection to the whatever is greater, the whatever is wiser, even at a more pragmatic level to the wiser self in me that I'm not always as connected to as I should be. There's my take on the workings I do, which you may call spells or spell work. This is a very interesting topic, actually, as magic is to me. For me to look at, listen to, read the thoughts on others in regard to it. Because we all have a lot of things in common, and we have a lot of things that we do differently. And this is an area where what we think magic is, what we know to be true for ourselves, and how we then manipulate that, make something of it, can also be, well, each a reality to ourselves, very different from how someone else views it. Here's the tricky part to me, working with students over the years, and if I look back on my learning process, there is an emotional and spiritual maturity to me that is part of working effective spells. In a sense, there is an acknowledgement that you have a right to desire and want something to be, but at the same time, humility about the fact that we don't always know what's best for us or for another. If someone has alignment to magic, with a K or not, that aligns them to a higher energy or force, they've usually arrived at the time they do their first workings with energetic and spiritual maturity. But if they haven't fully explored for themselves what is magic, their workings are not going to be effective. If they took a cursory glance or a one-time experience of what magic might be, and then moved on to attempting to restructure the universe, literally, then they are definitely working magic that is a parlor trick, an act of illusion, an entertainment, whether they feel it that way or not. Because they're coming to it from a place of, in a way, disconnection from their source of their own wisdom. A journey into the spirit and the energy to explore their reality, the truth they come to know about the energies they work with and what magic might be. My advice to practitioners who are not feeling that their spells are effective has always been, as it was to me, which caused me to stop and ponder this, when you do them, can you describe what you're connected to when you do them? Can you describe, affirm to yourself that when you do them, you're doing them to the best for yourself and for the universe? For me, my magics are generally effective. If they're not effective, I may know later why they weren't. Some things are still a mystery. But in the end, it comes down to what I align to. In a beautiful experience, a sacred synchronicity is something that's so great, beautiful, wonderful, and amazing that is beyond me to understand a connection to mystery. But the balance to that, the sacred part of the synchronicity, is it's also me, here and now, aligned to the energies that swirl around me in this physical world. Understanding why and how, and taking responsibility regarding how I choose to manipulate that. My thoughts on working spells or spell work. This and the one on magic. Oh, I hope to watch every single video that those in the challenge share. And if you're not in the challenge, it would be wonderful if you joined in for this part of the discussion and share what it means to you. Whatever you share will be truth, and it will be your world. And out of it is the reality that you'll manifest into the world. So it's fascinating to know how others, what they work from, and then what they do in support of magic and their spell work. I wish you all mirth and reverence. Merry part.